on to the moment.
Good. You'll still talk to us when it's published, won't you?
Can do, yes. Yes, I did actually a long time ago. I did when it was the 450th anniversary of his death. I did a lecture recital at the De Montfort, which occupies the site of the old Royal Choral College of the Newark.
All right. Right. Interesting. Has the president done a runner, Brian?
Good afternoon, everybody.
He's catching a runaway horse.
Hi. Hello, Bob. Morning, Rodney.
Hi.
Moira, good morning.
Good
Paul, good morning. Tim, hello, Tim. Morning, Simon.
Good afternoon, John.
How many we got? We got 19.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, there's.
Hi, Bob.
Yep, I'm here. All's well. Poo picking's done.
Fruit picking. I thought it was horse muck you cleared up.
Horse mucking now, yeah. So what have we got? Not sure people are too excited as a bit to business meeting, but we'll see how many.
There's another one joined, 20.
Yeah, we're at 20.
I'm sure that's a quorum.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be a thought. Yeah, maybe.
Is the forthcoming hot weather a problem for you, Chris? Well, particularly severity.
Well, yeah, we've funny enough, we've just started, a lot of our staff have started back today. So we're just getting ready now because they can work part-time during July and still be furloughed. So we're hoping to be able to manage the horses quite well now. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Gordon's popped up.
Oh, Gordon, hello, Gordon.
Good afternoon. Very
Hi.
well, thank you. Gordon.
Hi, Gordon.
Hi.
We're about 1 o'clock. I feel that there might be a couple more people to join us, but can't be sure today.
Over here for coffee, Chris.
Oh, what, sorry?
Over here for coffee.
Yeah. So I've got my Rodney spokesman.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that's right.
I find a bit of creeping there, Chris.
Not for much longer now, though, Rodney. Right. So on this day in history, Richard II ascended to the throne in England in 1377. It was on the death of his father, Edward III, and he was aged just 10 for the throne. On the same day, rather interestingly, in 1633, Galileo was forced to recant his Copernican views that the Earth orbited the Sun, and that was on the instructions of the Pope. And rather interestingly, it was only admitted by the Vatican that they were wrong on the 31st of October 1992. So it, a few hundred years to realise that we actually do orbit the Sun. That's the news. In terms of guests, I don't think we've got any guests today.
No.
And Louise, we've not got, so she's normally with us. Greetings from other clubs. I know Patrick said I should have said something last week, but I don't know. Is there any greetings from other clubs? No. Right. Well, today's a business meeting. There's quite a lot of business. I think one of the reasons we've not quite got so many members here today is that people weren't quite so excited. We've had some great speakers in recent weeks and more to come. So it's a business day, and we've got to clear up quite a lot of business that needs to be sorted out both for this year and just as importantly for next year, for when Palm Deep takes over. The documents have all been sent out by Barry, and what do you want to do, Barry? Do you just want to go through?
Shall I go through them, because I'm probably a bit more familiar with them than you are?
Yeah, I think I'm assuming everybody's had time to read them and all the rest of it, but yeah, go through that. Yeah.
Right. Well, the first action is to approve the minutes of the first business meeting held on the 25th of November. So I need a proposer and seconder for that, please.
I'll propose.
Yeah. Do you want the amendments to go in first before?
No, I think they were the minutes.
Okay.
The amendments are things that have happened subsequently.
Okay,
Sorry,
then, yeah.
I got Bob as a proposer, a seconder.
Yeah, I'll second.
John Aldridge. Thank you. Then the second item is to approve amendments and additions to the officers and council members approved at the first business meeting. Since that meeting, Diana Esho has kindly agreed to become Junior Vice President. She was a club councillor and so gives up her post as club councillor because she is on council as Junior Vice President. So Nick Thompson has agreed to take that place. And the third item is we have a reduced number of members on district council because of the reduced numbers of members of the club. So we've gone from 4 to 3. And it's proposed that those should be Moira, John Saunders and Richard Power, who I hope remembers he agreed about 6 months ago to be on district council. I'm looking smiling, so he obviously does.
President, can I come in on this particular thing?
Yeah,
As one of the octogenarian former presidents and somebody with 40 years total service in different clubs over the period, can I just say how absolutely delighted I am to see the lineup of our leadership for the next 3 years. This is really great news to have Palm Deep, Diana joining in, and of course also, oh my goodness me.
Got.
But I think this is very, very promising for the future of the club, that we've got a lineup of working people like this in a working age. That's how the club was formed, and perhaps we're going to have a very good launch into our second century.
Actually, I totally agree. And one of the things I will be mentioning when I do my talk on my year is that it's great to have the future in the hands of people who've got a good understanding of technology, bearing in mind that we might be reliant to a certain extent on technology, online meetings moving forward. So totally agree with you on that. So what do you want to propose?
I simply need a proposer and seconder for those amendments and additions.
Yeah, I'll propose it.
Second.
And a seconder.
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we need to then agree them? Have a vote?
Yes.
We all have a vote to agree those. Yeah, I'm in favour of all that. Look, yep.
Yeah.
So I think,
Right.
I think we're pretty,
That's unanimous.
yeah, I think we're pretty unanimous on that.
Item 2 is the approval of minutes of 4 AGMs held on the 9th of December, 6th of April, 18th of May, and an additional one I circulated because I'd missed it on the 27th of January. I think that's very straightforward. So perhaps somebody could propose and second all of them rather than separate them out.
Yeah, happy to do it.
So Simon and David Howard, I think.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's all for me for now, because item 3 is to receive and approve the report of the Honorary Treasurer. So I'll hand over to David.
Thanks, Barry. As you know, I took over as Treasurer in December, so it took me a little while to get to grips with what had been going on. I'd like to thank Adrian for briefing me on the strange workings of the Rotary accounts. And I think we should all thank Barry for holding the fort for about 6 months, whilst he was not only the secretary, but he also acted as treasurer. So that's not an easy job to pick up both those. So well done, Barry.
Thank you.
Hopefully you've all seen the accounts. They were issued by Barry. Please remember that the accounts are to the 31st of May, so they don't align fully with the presidential years. And I'll also remind you that the accounts are prepared on a cash basis, not on accruals basis. Hopefully the accounts are fairly self-explanatory, and some of the key points I'd take you to are, in the club accounts, we generated a surplus of about £1,800, but that was largely due to the cancellation of Kids Out in 2019 because of the bad weather. So we had money back that we paid out previously from the coach company, and we didn't incur the cost of about £1,000 to £1,200. So we might have been nearer breaking even had it not been for that. Membership income is down, but that just reflects the numbers also being reduced. In the charity accounts, it looks like our income was higher by about 7,000 than the previous year, but about 3,000 of this year's income, or booked as this year's income, actually related to last year's presidential appeal. So if you were to take that off and add it back into the previous year, the income is much the same over the 2 years. Outgoings in the charity account, well, the big figure was that charity linked donation, which was almost £20,000, which was Colin's charity, which we paid out in June. So before the end of the presidential year, but after the accounts were drawn up last year. Payments to foundation, about 6,000, I think, but big chunk of that related to the prior year contribution. A part of it related to this presidential year, and since the accounts were drawn up, we have actually paid a further amount of about just over £3,000. So we've about met our target for foundation this year. I've shown the COVID appeal separately on page 7 of the accounts. We've raised about £9,000 and given out about 6,000 to local charities at the moment. So that's pretty much where we are. The rest is all fairly repetitive and things you'll have seen before. So I'll take any questions, but I'd like to finish by thanking Adrian and David for examining the accounts electronically, given that we haven't been able to get together. So thank you for that.
Well done.
Well, I'd just like to thank you, David, on behalf of the club for standing in and doing such a marvellous job to get these accounts in order. It's incredibly reassuring to see the figures and to see that we're both solvent and pretty much on a par with previous years. So certainly those are my thanks to you. I don't know if anybody's got any specific questions for you. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. They're very good accounts. So thank you, David, for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need a proposer and a seconder and a vote.
Yeah.
Paul and Moira. And a vote, presumably.
Yep.
That's unanimous.
Yep.
And then, David, you need to tell us or recommend the subscription for the year. I've
prepared a budget for next year, and my proposal is that we keep the subscription at £150. We do know that a couple of, obviously with the COVID situation, so sorry about that. Somebody else will get it.
You hope.
Yes, she has. Yeah. So we do know that some of our costs will be down. We haven't got kids out this year, Ryla. So a couple of things there that we'd normally be paying out for. And my suggestion is we remain at £150. So that's I would propose that. If anybody wants to question it or disagree, please let me know.
Well, I think that sounds sensible.
Yeah.
So could we have a proposer, please?
Propose it.
Yes, I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, item 5, which is rather highfalutinly called to declare the results of the selection of members to serve on club committees. It doesn't feel quite like that when you're trying to sort it out, but I've circulated where we're at the moment. And I think it's something that isn't at any point in time fixed. We've got a couple of significant gaps at the moment, including one vacancy for a club councillor and chair of club service, as Mark Sandal is standing down. Palmdeep and I hope we've identified somebody to be Speaker Finder lead, who we'll be speaking to later. So at this stage, I simply suggest we receive and note the membership of committees for the coming year. I don't think it needs proposing or seconding. I think we just receive and note it.
Yeah.
I'll take silence as agreement.
Agreed.
Then I have to give a report. So this may be why we've only got 26 participants. That's not far. The average is 30. So
I think it's pretty good.
It's not as bad as suggested. So, Mr. President and fellow Rotarians, looking back over this Rotary year, it is difficult and maybe impossible not to view it through the lens of the impact of coronavirus on us all. It has shaped our lives and the life of the club, but let's not forget that we had just over 9 months of normal club life before we stopped meeting for lunch in March. Attendance at lunches was just under 50%, rather less than last year, but impacted by several factors, including sickness absence and our district governor attending meetings at other clubs rather than ours. There were a number of other reasons why we had a lower attendance. Today's online meeting is our 11th. After the first 2 meetings, when we were finding our feet, average attendance is 30, which represents about 56% of membership. Ironically, more than attended lunch over the previous 9 months. In total, 42 members, which is 78%, have attended at least one online meeting. It's interesting to hear from members who don't join the online meetings. The sorts of reasons they give are they don't like the use of technology or don't feel competent in using it. Very poor broadband in parts of the county. They don't find video conferencing satisfying and will wait until they can enjoy company of fellow members at lunch, and work commitments. So those are the sorts of reasons they give. One of the benefits of online meetings has been the increased range and location of speakers it allows. Last week, our speaker, John McGrath, spoke to us from near Cape Town, and in a fortnight's time, our speaker will join us from Delhi. Turning to the work of the committees, membership and retention, thanks go to Nick for taking on the role of chairman of membership and retention midway through our year. At the start of this Rotary year, our membership stood at 60. we're now 54, having lost Brian Smith and Rod Hudson before Christmas, and then this calendar year has seen us lose David Short, Arthur Bennett and Leslie Hamilton. We remember them all with fondness, as we do those who we lost the year before. Anna Geary has also left us, her business commitments preventing her from sustaining her involvement in the club. We are actively pursuing a corporate approach to membership, and Anna is interested in this for her company. Looking to the future, the challenge is to inspire new members to see the benefit of joining us. Tara Pankania joined us last September, and we are hopeful of some further possible recruits. The unprecedented hiatus caused by COVID-19 has disrupted our usual club meetings, but has also given us the opportunity to look at alternatives that might better suit some future members. We need to critically examine with a view to identifying what is good about the club and what is changing to encourage today's future Rotarians. What are the people we want to join us, and how do we find them and encourage them to take Rotary up? This coming year, we are going to make a concerted effort to set that in motion. Turning to service projects, as ever, Moira and the Service Projects Committee have worked tirelessly to deliver its programme, though latterly it's been heavily affected by the lockdown. Youth competitions this year started with Young Chef last October, and 2 from our competition went forward to the district finals. One sponsored by Leicester de Montfort. Young Writer, Young Photographer and Young Artist followed in the spring term, and it was good to include Crown Hill School in our Young Artist competition for the first time. We had entries for all age ranges in the district Young Artist and Young Photographer finals, with 1 entry from each going to the national final. We have a junior entry in the national final of Young Writer, but as yet no word on the results. Our intermediate instrumental ensemble won the district final of Young Musician. There are no further rounds for that category in this competition. And Moira tells me a good time was had by the team supporting the survey of Christmas lunches at the Age UK in December. The technology tournament was a highlight of the spring term, where for the first time 1 school, Leicester Grammar, won the prizes at all levels. Regrettably, the lockdown has taken its toll, with several of our regular activities being cancelled this year, including Ryla, Kids Out, Calvert, Sailability and Blood Pressure Awareness. The Disability Games were also cancelled. And Richard Power has continued to work incredibly hard with our international projects in both Ethiopia and Portugal. Turning to Foundation and Benevolent under the leadership of David Howard and Mark Simpson. At the beginning of the year, John Saunders gave the final touches to the Gondar project and led on the Riding for the Disabled event at President Chris's Witham Villa stables. The main Rotary involvement was the sale of burgers and hot dogs to those present. So David tells me. Yeah. He didn't tell me who sold them, but he wasn't sure if he remembered rightly, so I dropped that out so as not to offend anybody. John Saunders applied for the district grant and did photographs of the meeting. Members have generously donated several £1000s to be used for good causes in need of help as a result of the pandemic, with many members donating the equivalent to their lunch monies whilst meetings are held online. This enabled the club to secure 2 separate district grants of £1000 to support charities meeting the needs of people affected by the pandemic. One was to Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland to create a food bank. The charity needed 4 freezers and racking for storage purposes. The other to Charity Link to purchase 14 single beds and mattresses for individuals and families in Leicester severely affected by the pandemic. Members will be aware of the Rotary International goal that every Rotarian should contribute a minimum of $100 per annum to foundation. The achievement of this has been made more challenging in the UK by the exchange rate against the dollar. Despite this, the club has managed to make a donation very near to its target for the year of $6,000. This will not be sustainable going forward, and we need to continue the conversation about how we are to achieve the target donation to foundation in a planned way. And finally, the Benevolent Committee has continued to recommend donations to charities for member approval. 10 of those donations appear in the minutes of EGMs that have been approved today. And in addition, the club made a donation last year of £600 to the Hurricane Dorian Disaster Relief Appeal in the Bahamas. On communications, the committee is continuing to develop the club's approach to external and internal communication. The club's website, it's kindly hosted free of charge by Diane Esho's company, is now well established with regular monthly bulletin uploads and news. As ever, Diane pleads for more information, articles and items to be sent to her to keep the website up to date and attractive. Diana, with Scott, Gallagher and Palmdeep, are investing considerable time and energy in developing the club's use of social media, including Facebook and YouTube. I'm convinced that is it is right to develop our use of these channels as we look to new ways of attracting and retaining the next generation of members. We make regular posts to Facebook with club and wider Rotary news, and more recently videos of our speakers' presentations. In May, a club channel was set up on YouTube and speakers' presentations are uploaded there and shared from our Facebook page. Moving forward, we hope to grow this channel, given that YouTube is the second largest search engine. Clearly, it's very early days, and it would be interesting to see how and when we do attract new members through these channels. On Speaker Finders, yet again, Tony Jarvis and his team have provided a varied and interesting programme of speakers up to when we stopped meeting for lunch. Tony is standing down from leading the Speaker Finders, and our thanks go to him for his considerable efforts over several years. Once we'd learned how to run our meetings online, Palmdeep has been instrumental in arranging several speakers, and as ever, we welcome suggestions from members. Looking to the future, we're exploring how we can blend in the use of online speakers with the more traditional ways of speakers attending our meetings. And finally, turning to club service. Club service keeps the club running smoothly. And there's a work phrase along the lines of, you would only notice what I do if I stopped doing it. So there's lots of little things that happen quietly in the club that mean that it runs as well as it does. For example, welcoming guests and visitors. I bet nobody could say who does that, but it happens. Who collects the charity lunch money each week? That happens. Des Cloak does that, incidentally. I'll mention that because Des, I can see next to me. Mark Sandal is standing down as chair of this committee, and we thank him for his service. He's kindly agreed to continue to organise the club's participation in the minor sports and the quiz. With regard to minor sports, I understand we lost in the first round, slightly controversially. He didn't take part, but I have a hazy memory of tales of skullduggery about the score. For the quiz, a stellar performance by the club team in the first round of the district quiz at Cosby Golf Club in October, but we fell just 1.5 points behind the winners, which was the Rotary Club of Oldby. Bob Collins has maintained the flow of information about charter evenings and other events run by related clubs. He circulated details of 8 charters, 3 of which members attended, and details of 12 other events, 2 of which were on Zoom, and 7 members have attended or participated in those. Christmas lunch, 60 members and their guests attended lunch at St Martin's House. Many thanks to Richard Miller for organising it, and even more thanks to Richard for agreeing to do it again this year. The golf in Thorpeness in May and St Andrews in June were victims of the virus, as has been the President's Charity Golf Day, which should have taken place on Wednesday of this week.
Yep.
Simon Gravett ran the RIBI Golf Championship in September for the last time because of diminishing numbers of entrants. Simon has run the event for 8 years, from 2012 to 19, and the total funds raised to end polio, including the 2-for-1 match funding from the Gates Foundation, was within a whisker of £79,000. So that's an outstanding effort.
Yeah.
And finally, just to mention District Assembly, 13 members joined the online event in May, and I think, Rodney, there was a much larger attendance of members generally online than when people go in person. Is that right? Thank you. And about 20 members supported Rodney by attending the extremely well-received district conference in Southport in September. Right, now turning to a vote of thanks. It remains to me to award the bottle of port. And this is awarded for the best vote of thanks in the opinion of the Secretary and the Assistant Secretary. I'm advised that no consultation is required and no justification needs to be given. And in the absence of an Assistant Secretary, it falls solely to me to make the choice. So in early March, we were treated to a most entertaining talk about the history of boxing in Leicester by Carl Guns, who runs a boxing gym, supported by charitable funds. I don't know if Babs Marston is a boxing fan, nor do I know if she likes port, but I thought she pitched her vote of thanks perfectly, capturing how much all members present had enjoyed Carl's talk. So Babs isn't here today, so I'll let her know.
That's very nice.
And closing words, I've been in discussion with the Grand Hotel about us resuming our lunches. Hopefully, there should be greater clarity about the rules if tomorrow, as predicted, the government announces changes to the regulations that affect the hospitality industry. The next step is for us to visit the hotel to look in details at the arrangements it proposes to put in place to reduce the risk of infection. And I'll be doing this with Chris Palmdeet and Mick Marville as soon as we can in the next week or so. If the hotel is allowed to open for business from Saturday the 4th of July, my personal view is it would be too soon for us to plan to have lunch there the following Monday. They perhaps need a little time just to sort out any teething problems, but that isn't a fixed view. We can see what we think when we visit. And in closing, I thank members for their support over the last year. Will this be the only occasion on which a Secretary's report is given online? I do hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Barry, thank you very much, and thank you for all the hard work you've done during the course of what has been a challenging year, to say the least. So thank you for that. Has anybody any questions for Barry? No. Well, thank you, Barry. That was great. In terms of the rest of the meeting today, then there was an option of me going through my presidential year, but that may be something that we will leave to, because we've got a fairly busy timetable, I think, over the next couple of weeks. We've got Tara speaking next week, and then I think we've also got somebody speaking on the 7th of July. Is that right, Palmdeep?
Yes. Yeah.
The position. So it's a question of fitting in our respective talks as far as that's concerned. But I don't know how long Tara will be next week, but is Tara still here? She's still.
Yes.
Who's Tara? Is she there? Where is she?
Tara's there, yeah.
Tara, can you speak to us?
I'll unmute her. Hang on.
Okay.
Tara, you just need to unmute yourself.
Yes, I've done that.
Tara, next week, you're giving you a talk about your job.
Yes, I am. Yes.
How long that will be?
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. Well, perhaps I'll do my talk next week after you. Just
Okay.
Summarize my year, and then Palmdeep can have his own time and space to do it either on the 7th, is it? The 6th or 7th? Or the 13th?
Yeah.
6th, yeah, or the 13th. Because we're having a speaker from Delhi, I think, on the 6th.
That's correct.
And we don't really want to interfere with him too much, but I will be doing a handover to Palmdeep on the 6th, but it'll probably, from what we're thinking at the moment, be a virtual handover, unless we do have a meeting that day, but I'm not sure whether we will or we won't, but that's something that we'll make a decision about once we've met up with those at the Grand and seen what arrangements they have in place. But quite frankly, even if we do go ahead, it'll be a mixture of online and present. Richard, yeah. Don't mute yourself. Want you to, we can't hear you. That's it, yeah. No, he's gone back again. Try again, yeah, that's it. Hi.
Still can't hear you, Richard. It might be your microphone setting, Richard.
Has he gone? Could be vital, whatever Richard is.
Yeah, he's unmuted, but we can't hear you. No.
No, it's a bit strange, isn't it? But, well, we'll have to hear from Richard. Okay. So
Probably saying don't go out under any circumstances in Leicester today.
Well, I hope we have an update from Richard as well, but possibly not now, unless he can contact us through.
You could always mime Richard.
Yeah, we're going to try again, I think. So that's the plans over the next couple of 2 or 3 weeks. So McKenna, if he's here, if you could just perhaps give us an update on where we are with Charity Link.
Hello, hi.
Yeah,
Hi,
we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, huge thank you for your support, which has been demonstrated when you've been going through all the reports today. Yes, the beds are in, and most of them are back out again, so we've got those to clients. So thank you very much. That's been made such a huge difference to so many people, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue. And is Charity Link under stress with all of this going on at the moment, or are you managing to cope with?
No, we're managing to cope really well. We've got a bit of a mix of home working and remote working, which is working well. We're trying to bring more people into the office so they don't feel isolated. So we've got a really nice mix. People are happy to be here. So we have about 6 people in the office on a given day. We've now got nice, lovely screens up between desks as well. Lots of signs, lots of hand washing. But yeah, we're really good. The team's really good, and we're carrying on what we do best, which is helping local people.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done. Well, thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
And hopefully things will continue to go well to the end of the crisis, if that ever does end. But,
yeah, we'll still be here, and like I say, we can't really do it without your support. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the members and my fellow Rotarians. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Right, has anybody else got anything? I'm just dying to know what Richard was going to tell us, that's all. But
Yes, can I say something, Chris?
yeah, of course, Lonnie, yeah.
Just
No.
just to say, I'd like to thank members of the club for their support that they've given me over the year, and particularly those that supported the district conference, which added to it being rated one of the best that people can remember. I'd just like to say there's one other event at which you can support me, and that is the district handover, which is on online at 2 for 2:30 this coming Sunday, so something to snooze through in the afternoon. And you will be getting an email detailing the link for that. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod. Now we'll perhaps learn from you as to how to hand over during an online session. So Richard's back with us. I hope we can hear from him.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey. Right. No, it was just a suggestion that given that we're all hopefully imminently going to restart proper lunches, I know traditionally we always do the handover on the first the first one in July, but if we are going to be re-meeting on the 2nd, it just seemed to me a bit nicer to have an actual physical handover rather than try and do it online. It was just a thought, that was all.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think there are rules about that, though, in terms of when we do it. But
But
I
can't
think
we,
Rodney
under,
or
under
John-
emergency legislation, can't we change the
I don't
rules?
know whether Rodney or John has a view on whether we, because I mean, that would be nice to do that, but technically Palm Beach takes over on the 6th.
Yes, I know.
But we could do the physical handover on the 13th.
Yeah. Just
Palm Deep
Cummings could organise it, Chris.
Sorry?
Palm Deep becomes president at midnight on the 30th of June, irrespective of the handover.
Oh, does it? All right then. Okay. Well, so that doesn't matter then, does it?
So we can actually still have the physical handover on the 13th, even though
Yeah.
he's sort of technically president. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Palm Deep, do we have enough time to do both? Me to go through my year and you to do your year on the 13th. Have we got any speakers in for that day?
I think the 13th is clear. I'll just double check.
But if that's the case, then we'll do a normal one on the 13th, and we'll just acknowledge the Palm Deep can take over on the 6th, I suppose, because he will already be president by then. Does that seems to work better then, I think. But whilst Palm Deep's checking that, Richard, any news for us on the coronavirus, on COVID?
Well, as far as the OHL is concerned, it's actually gone very quiet. I mean, I worked on Thursday last week, and I think we had the quietest 24 hours I can ever remember in 3 years. And I was almost sort of twiddling my thumbs by the end of it. I know there has been an uptick in cases reported in Leicester. Now, that could be for all sorts of different reasons. It certainly at the moment hasn't translated into any more hospital admissions or anything. I did say to Palm Deep that maybe next Sunday I would do a more formal update at that point, because then hopefully we will have a bit more easing of the lockdown, etc. So, but really, I've nothing more to say than this isn't in the public domain, other than that things are, generally much quieter in Leicester than they were, say, a few weeks ago.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Chris, we're okay for the 13th.
Okay, so we'll do the lot on the 13th. If it's been decided we can't meet on the 13th because of the arrangements at the ground, then obviously we'll review that. But if we pencil it in on that basis, then that's how we'll progress over the next few weeks. So that seems fine. Any other business from anybody else at the moment? No? Well, thank you very much for attending. Thank you in particular, Barry, for your report. That sort of sums up the year very well, and I'm sure that we've got a lot to look forward to next year, even though again it's going to be a challenging year for Palm Deep, I'm sure. So next week we have Tara Pankania giving us a talk about I don't know, about her life, a job, whatever it's going to be. So that'll be something to look forward to, and we will look forward to that next week. So with that, I think we're just about at time. So thank you very much, and everybody have a good week, and look forward to seeing you all next week, and physically soon, hopefully, potentially.
Okay.
Chris.
Bye-bye.